Good afternoon, everybody. This is your boy D Max. So let's talk. Well, I thought I wasn't going to be able to talk to y'all for a while because I was going through some issues with YouTube about community guideline restrictions and violations and things that were said pertaining to some of my videos. But apparently, they saw that my content was. Uh, Based in fact and based on information that was credible, and here I am. So let's get into what I want to talk about today, man. I want to thank everybody who stuck with your boy. I ain't going nowhere. I might go through some things and I might have to dip off for a little bit, but I'm always going to come back and bring something to you that I feel is pertinent to the community. So, once again, thanks everybody for your continued support, and let's go. So, we just have witnessed the death of the rapper Trouble earlier last week or earlier this week. And now today we're hearing the news of FBG Cash, who's a member of the FBG crew. You remember FBG Duck was one of their most premier uh, artists, rappers, and he was gunned down also last year, I believe. And so with this story, it kind of relates to the story of Trouble because Trouble found himself caught up in a domestic situation and he was killed because of this domestic situation that he got caught in the middle of. Well, in this story with FBG Cash, it wasn't that he got caught in the middle of a domestic situation, or is that the case? Because earlier no one knew who the shooter was, and now it seems that the story unfolds. One of the shooters, or the alleged shooter, turns out to be a female, and so could it have been a female that he was having a sexual relationship with, and she caught him with this other female, and that's why they ended up shot up like that? Could have been a female assassin like old girl Ki, who was who was immortalized as a top assassin in Chicago after her death at the hands of King Von and his crew, allegedly. And so I really want to ask the question, in all of this, where's the femininity? Where's the I'm seeing a whole lot of females involved in a lot of masculine things, and it's not cute. And it's something that needs to be addressed. It needs to be dealt with, because you have all of these females out here who are already in a position to where men don't see them as a viable catch. And I'm talking about sisters in the hood and stuff like that. Let's just be honest about it. You got these men who are really high value dudes who are out here really doing great things in the world. They're not looking back to the hood to pull a sister up out of the hood because of so many things that are coming with these sisters. They don't want to have to be looking over their shoulder from gang members shooting at them because they used to be their ex-girl and they was all into that gang life. Don't no guy really want to deal with that, especially a guy who's out here living a decent life and trying to be an upstanding citizen. So, the reality of a guy who's in a position to help her to build up her life and to help her get in a better position, just not looking for that because they don't want all that baggage to come with it. And can you really blame them for that? I would not want to place myself in a position to potentially be murdered just for the affections of a female. It is not worth it at all. And so when we look at these cases that are coming up like this, they say he just signed a deal with Rap a Lot here in Texas, up in Houston, and then he went back home to Chicago. He had just got there. It's 5:30 in the morning. He's sitting in a car with a female, and he get ran down on. and allegedly he was ran down on by a female. And it makes sense that if it's a female, she would shoot both him and the female because he got caught cheating or whatever. If that's the case, and if in fact that was a female who ran down on him, so man, it's going to be really, really hard for guys out here today to really be able to take these females seriously when you know that a woman has the propensity for such levels of violence. When this woman can come through and shoot up your whole entire vehicle and kill everything in it. Somebody with that type of propensity for violence cannot be seen as a wife, and that's just the reality of it. So a lot of these females who are adopting this gang mentality are taking themselves out of the hunt for being a quality mate for somebody other than a drug dealer or a gangbanger. Those are the only good females. Those are the only people that those females would be useful to and be helpful to. And so they have a very small pool of men that they're going to be able to pick from and choose from, and that's why they end up dating friends and dudes that are ops. Because let's look at it, their options are very few. They're not going out here catching no Wall Street brother. They're not going out here catching no corporate America brother with this hardcore mentality that they've adopted as a female. And so as long as they continue to imitate these toxic masculine qualities, they're going to continue to find themselves with toxic men who are going to do these toxic things to them. So it's a vicious cycle that we find these sisters going through only because they're seeking out love and they're seeking out some attention and some acceptance from the men in their vicinity. And unfortunately, those men don't carry a lot of good qualities. So rest in peace to the young brother, FBG Cash. I never listened to his music before. I see more of the back and forth that they have with rival gangs than I see videos promoting their music and promoting anything outside of that violence, which also ultimately ends up in their music most of the time. Most of their songs are praises of death. And so when you sing songs that are praising death and death comes to your door, what is your expectation? Why would anybody be surprised at this outcome? That's why you don't see a lot of Chicago people crying, because these Chicago people have embraced death. And I'm not saying all Chicago people, but the Chicago gangs, these youth nowadays have embraced death. You see, they're calling themselves that, oh, I'm on demon time. What you gonna do with this demon? And all of these things that relate to death and destruction and so forth, so on. So when you embrace those types of things and those things happen to you, then there should be nobody who's caught off guard or surprised or just torn up about it. You're inviting these things into your life. And so I want these people to really understand what you're inviting into your life whenever you make the decision to live a certain type of lifestyle, because everything is a choice and everything is a decision. And so you made this choice and you made this decision to feed your psyche and to feed your mind and to feed your heart all of these negative, destructive things. But you're hoping for a great outcome. And even in the midst of that foolish logic, Yahweh still gives you a way out, still gives you an opportunity to make it out of those circumstances through the rap, through the other avenues that we as Black people in our community take on a common basis to get out of the hood. He gave you a way out, and still, even so, in that way out that he gave you, you bring the toxicity, you bring the murder, you bring the hatred and jealousy towards your own people. And so, what can we really say? How much can we really mourn for somebody who's dragging death around with them? And when death finally calls their name, they have to answer. Why are we so angry and why are we so surprised by these actions? This is what's supposed to happen. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. And so when we see the sum total and the product of actions leading up to this event, there should be no surprise. I've heard of quite a few content providers allude to this point. And so, what then should we say to the family members? We can only say that we're sorry for your loss, and we hope that this becomes, a cautionary tale and something that the children can look to as a reference point as not how not to live your life. Because if you live your life in this fashion, then it only demonstrates that you don't have much respect for life, especially your own. I'm not going to live my life in a way that's going to bring me closer to a negative end. And yeah, when our time comes, it's just up. Everybody knows that that's pretty much a given. But at the same time, you don't want to put yourselves in positions to be hurt and to be injured and harmed, or either your family and other people around you being harmed because of your actions. You see, Honeycomb Brazy, his grandparents both lost their lives because of his actions out there in the streets. Is that what you really want weighing on your conscience? Now, this young man is sitting in prison for 15 years with this weighing on his conscience. He can't even get back at the dudes who did that because he gonna be locked down for 15 years. And within that 15 years time, more than likely those dudes, if they still live in that lifestyle, they gonna be long gone in the grave somewhere before he would even get an opportunity to see their face. So really, all of that was in vain. His whole rap career was in vain. Everything that he did was in vain because he threw it all away for nothing. And this is what these guys see it as. They're given this opportunity to change their life and to change the lives of the people around them, but they have such a small. They don't even have any respect for life. And being that they don't have any respect for life, they can easily throw away an opportunity to have a better life because they don't understand what life is in the first place. And so this will send them into a whole new area of depression because not only did they have an opportunity to change their life, but they took that opportunity and they threw it away. And so now they're angry at themselves and everybody else that they could think to blame for the poor upbringing and the lack of understanding to be able to capitalize on their situation. We see this all the time. You look at Young Thug. Young Thug is sitting up there in jail right now, and they're saying how he's having such a hard time and how he's going. Why? He understands the life. He understands the whole entire game, including the backside of it where the consequences come from. Young Thug understands this. He's understood this from day one whenever he decided to step off the porch into the streets. He understood this. Man, if I get caught, that's why they do all of these different safeguards and put all of these different safeguards in place within their criminal organization to keep themselves disconnected from the criminal activity because he understands consequences. He understands them so much to the point to where he has lawyers who are on deck and ready at any moment. So if he gets into something, they're going to be right there to try to get him out of that situation because he understands the consequences of what he's doing. And so Just because he now has to face the consequences of his actions, he has to stand up 10 toes on what he been rapping about all these years, about how hard he is and about how he gonna do this and how he gonna do that when the situation arises. Well, now it's time for him to act on that. Now it's time for him to back that up, and he don't have the strength to back it up. So we have to be careful of who we're looking at as role models and who we're looking at to pattern our actions and our lives after, because you'll find out that a lot of these kids, yeah, they are kids. A lot of these kids are carrying some baggage that they can't handle, and that's why they so doped out all the time. Um, that's why they're so stressed all the time. That's why they always looking for a way out. They're always looking for a release. This is really important, y'all. This is something that's hindering us as a people, because we have our children looking up to people as being someone strong when they're really weak, because they can only appear strong. They can only pay for the appearance of looking strong, and they can only be strong in moments where things are going well for them. But when it's time for them to face adversity, they crumble and they show how truly weak they truly are. And these are the people that our children are following and pattern their lives after. And so whenever they go through something and they hit a point to where they're going to have to be able to endure, guess what they're going to do? They're going to crumble just like these people who they've patterned their lives after. Yeah. And so all of the FBGs and YSLs and whatever other acronyms y'all want to throw out there and use to describe what type of group you are, none of those acronyms are going to save you when you're in front of that judge. None of those acronyms are going to save you when you're in front of the barrel of that gun, man. And that's a sad place to be, because you really show in that moment how fragile you really are. You see in that moment, staring down the barrel of the gun or staring up at that judge on that podium and those jurors over in that box. When you're staring at that, when you really get an idea of who you are and where you stand in this society. Because when you're out there in the streets and you have all of those people under you who you're supplying the dope and who you're selling the dope to, and they're looking up to you, it's not hard for you to be seen as somebody who's up here looking down on the small people. But when you get out into actual society outside of your environment and you see that people are thriving in business and thriving in all different areas on a much larger scale than what you are, then it kind of puts everything into perspective as to how small and how powerless you really are. But if you don't see past the hood, you can't see how small these guys really are. And this is detrimental to our children. And so we have to expose them to the outer echelons of the neighborhoods. We have to expose them to what's going on in the rest of the world so that they can have a broader view, so that they can think past the ignorance that they see in the hood, thinking that that's the only way that they can get by, or that's the only way that they can progress in life. So this is where we at. What's going on, bro, man? I appreciate you coming through and checking out my comeback. Well, it ain't really a comeback. Don't call it a comeback. I've been here for years, man. But yeah, so getting back on topic. FBG Cash, man, you know, Like I said, I can't say nothing bad about the brother because I really don't know him. All I know is these cats are out here talking one thing and they living another thing, because you're not moving the way that you claim you're moving when you get caught up in situations like this. And the same thing with trouble. When you get caught up, laid up in a woman's bed, and you don't even really know that woman like that enough to know that she got a situation going on with this other dude that she do, you lacking, and you're not living what you out here preaching to these kids a lot of times. So quit putting these kids in situations to get their dome rocked when you know that that's not the way to move. You know, yeah, so much going on out here that I can talk about, and there's a lot of things that I really, really want to cover that's been going on. Um, let's go ahead and slide to the comedy thing a little bit, because I do want to touch on this DL Hughley and Monique situation. Now, I did a video earlier and I was saying, uh, why is it that black comedy seems to be the only comedy that's taking a hit and being attacked by all of these the LGBT community and so forth and so on? It seems to only be black comedians that are catching the brunt of this attempt at cancellation. We saw Joe Rogan, he got hassled a little bit, but that was only because of the things that he said about COVID. But all of the stuff that they pulled up to try to cancel him for saying the stuff about COVID was the things that you could really truly cancel somebody for. But they didn't care for him to be canceled because of this. They just used it as a side piece of evidence to reinforce their original reason for canceling him. And so they think that we're not smart enough to see how they manipulate and how they use these different pieces of information to try to get us to move a certain way. We're far past this sheep mindset that they had America under. Because I ain't gonna lie, there are a lot of people in the United States that are totally lulled to sleep. They are so asleep right now, it don't make no sense. But my thing is this: the drug use and the types of drugs that people are taking now, which are a lot of downers, and that was the exact purpose for lulling you into these downers so that they could lull you to sleep even easier. If you look back at the whole MK Ultra and the Monarch experiments that they were doing, that was one of the main ways that Charles Manson was able to influence his followers to go and do what they do. And they blamed it on the PCP and the music that he would play and connecting to the chakra and, you know, all of the things that go into mind control. And so whenever you put this in the black community nowadays, you have the same exact recipe. You have the mind altering drugs, you have the music with the message to reinforce that destructive behavior, and you have it playing repetitiously while they stay medicated with these drugs. And so there it is right there in a nutshell. Nothing has changed. Everything is the same as it has always been. It's just being placed on a loop and it's being done with a little bit more technology. And that's all we're seeing right now. And so when you see these types of things taking place, these attacks going on in comedy, these attacks going on in the black community, the mass shootings that are starting to rev up again, all of these different entities and all these different things that are happening are to uh, get our attention. Some are cautionary tales. Some are inevitable just for the mindset of the nation that we live in with this bully mentality. And we're going to continue to see these mass shootings as long as you have people who feel like there's no justice being done within the United States. That's the only reason that a person feels that they have to take matters into their own hands, is when they don't see the government properly handling situations in their lives and the lives of people around them. and they don't feel secure, and they don't have any trust for the government. And over the last, I can say 16 years, the government has done a great job in losing the trust of the people of the United States. And so when you get scared and you feel like there's nobody out there that's protecting you, then you're going to do what you need to do to protect yourself. And this is going to produce January 6th. This is going to produce the mass shootings. This is going to produce all the shootings in the black neighborhoods and other neighborhoods as well, because black neighborhoods are not the only ones who have high crime and high violence. And so, with these things taking place, with all of this being glorified and all of this being highlighted on these platforms, we as a people are going to have to let our children understand the severity of their actions. And we're also going to have to let our children understand how fragile and important and precious life really is. Because, like I stated in the beginning, if they have no value for life, they don't care about taking one at all. And so, the caveat to that is this: the only lives that they don't value is the ones that look like them. And so it's hard to be afraid to die whenever you have a negative view of your very own image. And that's all I'm gonna say on this, man. This is your boy D Mac. Once again, rest in peace to Trouble. Rest in peace to FBG Cash and whoever's gonna come next. Because probably by I don't know, Monday morning we may have another one that's taken away from us, and that very well could happen at the rate that these guys are dying, man. I hate to say that, but it is what it is. So. This is your boy D Mac, man. Y'all know what I say. Sticks and stones can break your bones, but the word can always heal you. I'm out.